Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening over in southeastern Queensland. We've got a severe thunderstorm situation beginning to develop right now. I'm not sure if. I hope the audio is all coming through right now, but we do have this significant severe thunderstorm line that's developing towards the south of Brisbane. This is one of those cases where these thunderstorms are really touching on the border of being quite dangerous in nature. Right now, they're not anything crazy, but we have had microbursts through parts of the Harrisville area, and these thunderstorms are now quite strong. They are, as we like to call them on this channel, packing a punch. So definitely worth looking at, definitely worth having a look at these thunderstorms here in a live way. And I thought that the live coverage is definitely the best way to get all of your questions answered and all of your comments in regards to this severe thunderstorm outbreak answered. So just as I finalize setting things up here, if you are brand new to my channel, of course, please do consider subscribing and also send us through a message in the chat. But yeah, I've made the call, I've pulled the trigger here, doing the live coverage on this severe thunderstorm outbreak. It's not something that I would normally do because these are our garden variety type of thunderstorms, but considering that they're now moving into the Brisbane area and we have had microbursting storms, in particular this one here that's moving into the Ipswich area that actually appears to now be threatening the Brisbane CBD itself directly, this is definitely worth looking at in greater detail. So of course, the point of this live coverage is to just answer your questions over the next hour. This is not a very dangerous severe thunderstorm situation, but it's important that everybody remains up to date on this situation as well. And I would like to say thank you to our proud sponsor, Number One Computer Shop over in Ipswich. Massive, massive support from them, and go check them out as well if you need any tech repairs or advice. Alright, so this thunderstorm here, this is the one that we're going to be looking at in great detail. This is a cell just outside of the Ipswich area. It's moving towards the northeast, in fact on a bearing of about 40 degrees, so it is going to move right over the Ipswich area in about 15 minutes or so. Lots and lots of lightning in it. It microburst just outside of Thornton and Harrisville. We had a very quick dump of heavy to locally intense rainfall, and as this thunderstorm now pushes up into the Ipswich area, we're expecting that heavy rainfall and hail to continue. It's not a crazy thunderstorm. We've got hailstones within here, but they're probably about two, maybe 2.5 centimeters in diameter. They're really not that big. We've also got a healthy line of squalls down here, including it looks like it's now a bit of a dying line into the Nerang area, pushing into the Gold Coast, where they're expecting good thunderstorms in the next 10 minutes or so. This is also likely a hailer, but we've only got small hailstones in this one, and a couple of stronger storms as well around the Bow Desert and Boona area. But again, these thunderstorms aren't anything crazy. These storms, though, are a lot stronger than we initially expected, and that's not because the forecast was wrong. The forecast has been bang on so far, just minus the fact that the temperatures. So Brisbane, if you can recall, today was expecting a top of 25 degrees. They actually got to 29, so that's an extra 4 degrees. That's a lot more energy through southeast Queensland for these severe thunderstorms. So this is definitely something worth taking a look at. These thunderstorms are a lot stronger than expected because of those temperatures, and yeah, as they continue to push over in towards the southeast Queensland plain, they are picking up more and more steam. They're getting stronger and stronger. So interesting, that's for sure. Will Caboolture get a hit from these thunderstorms? Well, at this point in time, it's not overly likely that Caboolture is going to get smashed by these thunderstorms, but we could definitely be talking about a strong storm or two moving up into the Caboolture area. Parts of the Sunshine Coast are also expecting strong thunderstorm activity later tonight, and we may be seeing some significant rainfall accumulations through parts of the South Burnett. But for now, it looks like Caboolture, unless we see strong thunderstorm development out towards the west of Toowoomba, which is kind of developing. You can see there's a lot of thunderstorm activity out here around the Tara area. But yeah, that would be a hard push to get towards Caboolture on the bearing that it's on right now. We'd need this thunderstorm to develop here. So Caboolture looking like it's going to be better off than, say, Ipswich, but it is just a little bit too early to tell right now. Lots and lots of questions coming through. In fact, there's too many of them to get through. Yeah, I didn't expect to be running live coverage today, and to be honest, I didn't really want to, but when these severe thunderstorms are developing, and when they're developing in the nature that we're seeing right now, it's very important to get the information out, and I feel like live coverage is the only way to do it properly. So just an update from the Bureau of Meteorology. Lockyer Valley outside of Laidley, we've got a strong thunderstorm there, and then the microbursting one outside of Ipswich. This is our strong one. It's not very dangerous, but it's still strong. It's going to collect Ipswich basically bang on the nose. It's then going to move up into the Samford Valley, bypassing Brisbane, but they're still expecting some strong winds there, and then crossing over in towards Strathpine and Redcliffe in about 50 minutes. minutes and an hour from now, respectively. Caboolture may see this one developing into the Lockyer Valley, but again, that's an hour away. That is talk for the future. And of course, our Gold Coast storm now moving into the Gold Coast area around Miami and the Surfers Paradise area. This one's also strong and severe warned. We don't have any update right now in terms of what we're expecting or seeing in these thunderstorms, but I'll tell you, if you're in Ipswich, Rosewood, Marburg, probably a little bit too late for Harrisville, and you're also on the kind of southern flank of these thunderstorms, put the car away, get a cover over the car, make sure you are hail ready, and of course get off the roads if you are driving. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning now, a detailed severe thunderstorm warning at that, so make sure you are ready for severe thunderstorm impacts. Coming back on the radar here, we've got reflectivity readings between 50 to 55 decibels. It's nothing crazy. This is not a powerful severe thunderstorm by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a strong one, and it is packing a punch, and there is most certainly some heavy rainfall embedded within that, as we can see. Redcliffe probably about an hour away right now. Easing off in the Burleigh Waters area, that's great to hear. This thunderstorm now moving towards the north of Burleigh Waters is going to go in towards the Gold Coast area, and it actually looks like it's going into the theme park district right now, that hail core. It may end up collecting Coomera and Sanctuary Cove over here. It's definitely going to end up collecting the Seaway and around the SeaWorld area just towards the north of the Gold Coast and Surfers Paradise located here. But yeah, definitely got some hail in that one as well, but a lot of heavy rainfall likely in that one too. Thornlands in 20 minutes, according to the weather app. I presume Thornlands will be just towards the north east of Ipswich, up around here somewhere. And I would say that would be correct if I can actually find them. So I'm going to need a bit of help here in the chat. But if it's around the Brisbane River area, we're probably looking at about 15 to 20 minutes from now. At this point in time, Redland City is going to get clipped by this severe thunderstorm. We won't be talking about anything crazy in the Redland City area over here, but we do have a bit of a strong cell here developing just outside of Jimboomba, and that's going to go on through the Logan City area. It will likely be substantially weaker by the time it gets into the Logan City area in about 25 minutes, half an hour or so. And if it holds its intensity to the Logan City, it will be severe by the time it gets towards Redland City. If it weakens from here, it'll be non-severe for Redland City. I don't think it'll be anything crazy either. Yeah, these storms have hail in them. In particular, the Ipswich one, this has got hail in it, but also the Gold Coast one, that's a hailer. The Laidley one's also got hail in it, just towards the northwest of Thornton. And also likely this one here that's moving through Jimboomba and Beaudesert, this also likely is a hailer as well. We're not obviously talking about giant hailstones, but large hailstones most certainly a possibility. Isn't it funny how all of these storms coincide with rush hour? It's now 5:11 p.m. in Brisbane, so it's peak rush hour time. Get off the roads, and if you do start seeing hail and heavy rainfall on the windshield, then just pull over. Update for the Gold Coast, you've got that storm coming through right now. It is quite strong. We're getting reflectivity readings here around 60 to 65 decibels. But yeah, definitely is on the stronger side. A number one computer shop, our proud channel sponsor, has sent through 5 memberships, so congratulations to everybody that has received them, and thank you very much to our proud channel sponsors. Check them out if you have any computer issues, problems, whatever. They'll be happy to help you out. No hail in Ipswich. Okay, that makes sense. This thunderstorm here on the reflectivity side of things is not producing the most insane reflectivity readings. I mean, we're looking at between 50 to 55 decibels, which is, if it is hail, we're talking about small hailstones. So 1-2 centimetres, maybe 2.5 centimetres as it pushes towards Rosewood, Ipswich and Ripley. It hasn't actually made it into the Ipswich area. It's kind of over Harrisville right now. So Ipswich is still about 10 minutes away. But yeah, this thunderstorm is not too strong, it's not too crazy, but it is dropping a lot of rainfall, and that's kind of the story of these thunderstorms here, is that there's a lot of rainfall embedded within them. We've got some pretty significant rainfall accumulations predicted from some of these thunderstorms, and actually if we pull up some of the rainfall observations already through southeastern Queensland just in the last hour or so, we've got lots of falls around that 25mm mark, and considering these thunderstorms are coming through thick and fast very, very quickly. I mean, Binnabar has picked up 46mm, and the bulk of that would have happened in about half an hour. There is actually locally intense rainfall accumulations in these severe thunderstorms. So hail isn't the main concern, it's mainly the severe thunderstorm risk. Yeah, well, I mean, looking out the window is often the best way to have a look at these severe thunderstorms, but it is always good to be able to track them like this. And we've also got the Brisbane weather webcam over here as well. So we can actually see this Ipswich thunderstorm, and you can see it is that darker area on the camera. This is a pretty low contrast version. If there's a way that I can up the contrast in this, that'd be great. But we don't really have a wall cloud yet on the camera imagery. It's definitely quite a high cloud-based system by the looks of it as well. I'm kind of analyzing it whilst I'm doing the narration here. I actually haven't looked at this in a bit, but it definitely looks like quite a mean thunderstorm, that's for sure. And I don't know if you can tell, but these clouds are moving along very, very quickly. This is quite a fast-moving thunderstorm compared to what the forecast was for today. But yeah, we've definitely got quite a fast-moving thunderstorm here, looking quite gnarly, that's for sure. Look at that flash. So this thunderstorm's throwing out a lot of lightning, and there is, I don't know if you can tell, a tiny bit of a green tinge as well coming through in this area here. It's not crazy, and it's not something that's making me scream hail core or giant hail is imminent, but it's definitely something that shows that there is some intense precipitation, or some very heavy to locally intense precipitation in this severe thunderstorm here as it moves into the Brisbane area. So if you want to go and check this out, this is the Brisbane Weather Live webcam. They are fantastic. And this footage, it's second to none. It really, really is second to none. I strongly recommend going to check out their channel. I believe they're knocking on 10,000 followers as well over on YouTube, so give them a hand. Not affiliated with them, but they do a great job with what they do. Anyways, checking back in on these thunderstorms, as we saw, lots and lots of lightning, and particularly with that Ipswich storm, and also down onto the Gold Coast as well. A lot of lightning in this one. Plenty of lightning developing offshore as well, and a good storm is about to move into the Toowoomba area. In fact, this has developed very, very quickly in the last 15 minutes or so, and I would just like to say for Toowoomba, good idea to keep inside, put the car away, and just make sure you are ready for severe thunderstorms, which are likely to cross into the Toowoomba area in the next 15 minutes or so. So hail is possible in the Toowoomba area. It's not going to be anything giant or large, likely not damaging, so I wouldn't go and break your back to get the car inside or anything. But if you can do so, and if you're in a position to do so, good idea to do so at this point in time. And again, this Ipswich storm here, really on the way to upscaling now. I think we are definitely about 20 minutes late to starting the live coverage. The thunderstorms were their most intense about half an hour ago or so, but these storms are still quite strong, that's for sure. Nathan, slabbed by the storm at Westbrook right now. Yeah, whereabouts is Westbrook? I thought that was out towards Toowoomba, yeah. So yeah, this thunderstorm's really, really developed very quickly in the last kind of 10 minutes or so, and the fact that it's now throwing out an awful lot of lightning, I mean, it's very, very persistent. Yeah, it's going to be quite strong, quite intense down there, so some strong wind gusts, likely some large hailstones developing in that one as well. Again, I don't think anything crazy is ongoing in that thunderstorm, but we've definitely got some large hailstones there, and again, thank you very much, Nathan, for that generous tip as well. Big thunderstorm developing out there. And it looks like overall the precipitation as this storm moves through the scenic rim is now beginning to pick up. In fact, some of these little cells here that are developing around the Jimboomba area have higher reflectivity readings, believe it or not, than the Ipswich one, which is definitely the strongest storm of the day so far. That microburst earlier, by the way, so that dropped a microburst a little bit earlier on. But yeah, precipitation really beginning to pick up into the scenic rim now. That Ipswich one still holding on quite strong. If we go and check on the Toowoomba cell as well, it's kind of that tail end of this thunderstorm that's really beginning to develop into the Toowoomba area. And it is mighty strong, that little thunderstorm there. Really developing quite quickly. Moving into the airport right now, or moving up towards the airport and around the Westbrook area. Yeah, definitely some small hailstones in that, that's for sure, at the very least, and a very strong gust front as well. Wind gusts likely approaching 80 kilometers an hour. And if we check the Doppler wind speeds here as well, and we pause it on the latest frames, you can see that this storm, or these series of storms, has a very defined kind of front. So this is where we're looking at strong to potentially damaging wind gusts, and yeah, definitely around the Coomera area and pushing through the scenic rim right now. There are some very strong wind gusts in a few of these thunderstorms, 70, 80 kilometers an hour, potentially up towards 90 or even 95 kilometers an hour. Jimboomba, hunker down. That thunderstorm will be upon you in the next minute or so. Strong wind gusts pushing through there, and still the Gold Coast one holding on strong as well. That is quite a strong thunderstorm all things considered. Sky's looking a bit green. Yeah, as you would expect from a setup like this. Green sky indicates hail. And then, yeah, just checking back in on the Brisbane weather live webcam. Good to see everybody saying hello in here as well. It definitely looks a little bit of a green tinge on here as well. And we might be able to make out a bit of a wall cloud beginning to develop here just over the horizon. But definitely looking at some pretty intense precipitation rates developing in this severe thunderstorm in the Ipswich area. And yeah, it just started pouring in the Red Bank Plains area. I imagine that rainfall is only going to begin to pick up as well. So it's now pretty much fully upon Ipswich. We'll be talking about this getting into the Ipswich area, or properly into the Ipswich area, in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. Definitely closing in there. And it appears, just looking at the lightning, that its track, yeah, if we extrapolate that, it's pretty much right on what the bomb is saying as well. It takes it through parts of the Wivenhoe Outlook here and then into the Samford Valley. In fact, it takes it kind of towards the south of the Samford Valley area, just through the mountains that sandwich between Brisbane and the Samford Valley and Mount Nebo, and then into the southern areas of Strathpine and around the airport sort of area. So right now, I don't think this is a massive concern for the Brisbane area. Kind of between these red lines is where the strongest part of this thunderstorm is going to move through, and Brisbane is just off to one side of that, I would say. Flogging down in Gladstone, yeah, you'll have some good wind and some heavy rainfall. I think we can now drop the risk of hailstones from this Ipswich one. There may be some small hailstones in it, and I'd love to hear some confirmation if we are seeing small hailstones, but I honestly doubt that we're seeing large hailstones, and I don't think large hailstones will be a problem at all from this Ipswich cell. No sign of hail, good. Yeah, this is kind of the memo of the outbreak this weekend. Apart from an area just towards the west of Kilcoyne-esque and then the north of Toowoomba up towards Kingaroy, so through here, tomorrow we will have a large hail risk, and any thunderstorm that develops there will definitely be a hailer. Also, a couple of thunderstorms towards the west of Warwick could also be a bit of a hailer as well. But this weekend, the memo is thunderstorms with heavy rainfall, not so much a hail risk. So that's a good thing. Lots of lightning, good to see. Lots of reports of heavy rainfall and no reports of hail. This is fantastic. Bucketing down in Ipswich, lovely, lovely. Keep all of these reports coming. Very, very good to hear them, and especially the fact that there's no hail as well in these thunderstorms. Ipswich was going to be the first kind of big population centre where we were looking at these thunderstorms, so it's kind of the guinea pig, and that's kind of what Ipswich is. It's kind of the testing rod, if you like, for the Brisbane area. What thunderstorms move through Brisbane generally are through the Ipswich area about 30 minutes before, so it's safe to say that we're not expecting hail from these thunderstorms, or not expecting large hailstones into the Brisbane area. I wonder if they're warned for hailstones. We've definitely got some small hailstones in a few of these cells, but I don't think we've got large hailstones at all in any of them. So we're mainly talking about a heavy rainfall risk now, which is great news because Queensland could really do with this rainfall. The only thing is we have had some really good rainfall so far. So good, in fact, at Binnaburra, which is down here around where my ex is. We're talking about rainfall rates between 60 to 100 millimetres an hour, and they sustain themselves as well. So Binnaburra's actually had 42 millimetres so far from this storm, and the bulk of that was very, very quickly as well. And it also doesn't look like Binnaburra copped the absolute worst of this severe thunderstorm that moved through. So what we're talking about is heavy rainfall rates, and we may see 50 millimetres in some of the gauges behind these thunderstorms, particularly just towards the west and the northwest of Harrisville. There's definitely some heavy rainfall developing here. I'm from Perth. Looking and sounding nasty, good to hear, catatonic. Toowoomba's getting pretty excessive rainfall right now, not near a flood zone, but I'm wondering how things are looking around the East and West Creek. Nathan, good reporting. Yeah, it would be absolutely flogging down in this thunderstorm. In fact, in all honesty, this is probably the strongest thunderstorm that we have on the radar right now. 57 decibels or 58 decibels. We're definitely getting in towards hail territory, or getting close towards small hail territory. And this thunderstorm's not in a big hurry either. In fact, it's kind of been sitting there for the last 15 minutes or so. So it'll be interesting to see how much rainfall we actually get in the Toowoomba area in the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. But if we just check back in on rainfall observations, you can see, yeah, 29 millimetres at West Halden, 26 millimetres at Upper Blackfellow. And if we have a look at since 9 a.m. rainfall accumulations as well from these thunderstorms, 20 to 30 millimetres for a few spots. Binnaburra at 49 millimetres, which is the wettest spot so far. Natural Bridge has copped 28 millimetres. That's a beautiful spot of Queensland. I love Natural Bridge. Hammering down in Ipswich. I don't want to keep saying beautiful because now that we're getting a lot of these hammering down reports, flash flooding does become a bit of a concern, but this is beautiful rainfall, all things considered, and this is what southeast Queensland has. I mean, obviously our spring months were quite dry. They are substantially drier than what we expected them to be, so to see such a widespread expanse of rainfall coming through is just beautiful to see, but it is dangerous. Take it easy on the roads. Make sure you are inside, away from this heavy rainfall that is pouring down into the Ipswich area and is about to arrive through some of the Brisbane suburbs as well. Flash flooding is a risk as well, so don't go and play in drains. Of course, that's one thing that catches a lot of people off guard. You'd be surprised at how many people do silly things like that during severe thunderstorm warnings. So very important to remain safe and remain inside during thunderstorms like this. Number One Computer Shop, thank you for that very generous support as well. And if you want to support those that support the CyclonesOZ channel, head over to Number One Computer Shop in Ipswich for all of your tech needs. No, that's not a dumb question at all. By decibels, we're talking about reflectivity. So decibels is a measurement of sound, of course. That's how loud I'm talking. Probably right now we're pushing closer to 80 decibels, almost shouting. But in a radar context, this is the reflectivity. So this is how intense the readings are coming back from this storm. So precipitation always gives a reading. When we've got no precipitation, we're talking about 0 decibels. Light precipitation is between that 10 to 20 decibels. Moderate, we're pushing closer to 30 or 40 decibels. Getting in towards heavy territory is above 50. And then once we get in towards hail, we're talking 70 plus for large hailstones. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing and leave a like on the stream as well while you're at it. The support lately has been massively appreciated. It'd be great to have all of you on board. Just checking back in on our Brisbane live webcam as well. Latest imagery suggests a little bit of green now moving over the extreme southern parts of the Wivenhoe outlook. Of course, our first ranges starting here on towards the right-hand side of the frame. A little bit of green up here, which is very heavy precipitation, bordering on small hailstones. Actually, one thing that we can check to confirm whether or not there is hailstones above eyewitness reports, of course, is our soundings. And steep lapse rates, which is where this red line here drops very, very quickly or heads towards the top left very, very quickly, is indicative of hail. But what we have right now is quite shallow lapse rates and quite shallow indexes on that, which is not very favourable for hailstones. So this is what we have right now. This is what we're used to seeing on big hail days, and you can see it down here. It's a very, very shallow tilt on this red line. So around the Ipswich area, it's very unlikely that we've got large hailstones in this storm. Yeah, so I was very much against the idea of doing a live stream, but again, a lot of requests, so succumb to peer pressure, sorry, not sorry. And also the fact that it's best to, when we've got severe thunderstorms, especially in a populated area like Brisbane, there's no better way to cover these storms than by doing live coverage. It's so important to be able to answer everybody's questions as they come in. And I love doing the live coverage genre as well. It's just so interactive. About to get hit by this. Hear the rumbling already. You're more than welcome for the info, and thank you very much for your kind support as well. Yeah, Dalby out towards the north of Toowoomba. Yeah, Dalby is going to be impacted by rainfall. In fact, it's likely already starting in the Dalby area. And we've got a couple of strong cells here outside of Tara and Meandara. If one or two cells develop down here around the Cecil Plains and the Millmerran area, they'll go in towards the Dalby area later. Nothing too crazy is expected though, very much garden variety type thunderstorms. So think a typical summer outbreak or summer evening outbreak. That's what we're looking at for in Dalby. Gone through Laidley, no stones. That is a very common report that we're seeing. Heavy rainfall, no hailstones, strong wind gusts. So these storms should be severe warned for the heavy rainfall. I think in terms of the strongest wind gusts that we're seeing, we're getting up to about 70 kilometres an hour. And that is, you're bordering on severe territory. It's really not that strong at all. So this is a look at the Amberley airfield. 57 kilometres an hour is our strongest wind gust. And even out towards Warwick, we had wind gusts, I believe, 70 kilometres an hour, 69 kilometres an hour. So yeah, really not that crazy, not that strong. Dominator, thank you for that generous tip. Is Beerwah going to get anything? We can check that. Beerwah up towards the north of Caboolture. Really depends on whether or not these thunderstorms out in this part of Queensland here take off. We're already beginning to see these thunderstorms here, so basically anywhere within these lines here is looking at something, or out to about here is looking at some heavy rainfall, lots of lightning as well, out to about Gympie. And then this line here around the Toowoomba area, in fact, pretty much everywhere, to be honest now, looks like they're going to see something. Whether or not it's severe, I reckon it's going to be about the strength, if not a little bit weaker, of this kind of line between Ipswich down towards the Gold Coast. So Beerwah looking at heavy rainfall in about 2 hours' time, plenty of lightning as well, and maybe a strong wind gust or two. But garden variety severe thunderstorms, and that is very much the message of today. A few good cracks of thunder here in the Toowoomba area. Yep. This is a strong cell, actually, in the Toowoomba area. That should have its own separate severe thunderstorm warning. That is a very, very strong cell developing around the Toowoomba area. Well, not a very strong cell, but in comparison to today's stuff, it's a strong storm. Very heavy rainfall developing in that one, though. I mean, records are made to be broken, so of course we will see something like the 2011 flood sometime in the future, but it could be a long time away. It could happen this year, we just don't know. But they will happen again. I wouldn't be scared. None of these thunderstorms are worth being scared over or worth panicking over. Pimpama started, heavy rainfall. Caloundra, probably a little bit of rainfall up in the Caloundra area. I wouldn't call it heavy, but definitely a little bit of remnant activity from the thunderstorms that are developing right now. Nothing crazy expected, though. Well, I personally don't expect anything crazy in the Caloundra area at all. Green sky in North Brisbane? Sure, would be. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to say for sure if you can see it on this here or if I'm actually tricking myself into seeing it, but there is a little bit of green sky developing here. One thing that we have noticed is that these thunderstorms are kind of pushing a little bit further out onto the screen now, or further out to the right on the screen. Now, that obviously is an illusion. These thunderstorms are actually moving towards us, looking at this camera here or this web camera here. But what that means is these thunderstorms are sliding around the Brisbane area. So the worst of this heavy rainfall that we're seeing through the Ipswich area that's continuing to develop is going to head up into the Wivenhoe Outlook, over Mount Nebo, and then into the Samford Valley, and then eventually off in towards Strathpine. It's going to bypass, for the most part, the Brisbane area. Of course, Brisbane's still going to get heavy rainfall and plenty of lightning. There's no shortage of that here. That's pushing into the Logan area right now, and also through the Gold Coast area, a bit more of a stronger cell developing there. We've also got that good cell moving through Gatton and Marburg right now, and of course our Toowoomba cell here. So there is a big conjoined line, but there are, of course, some stronger areas embedded in this line, as you would expect. Gympie later today, or later tonight actually. Rumbling in Redcliffe. Yeah, it sure would be, and that would be from this thunderstorm that's now jumping north into the Wivenhoe Outlook. In fact, it looks like the worst of this thunderstorm here is actually now just passing towards the north of Brisbane. It's going to completely bypass the Brisbane area, the worst of this Ipswich one, as they normally do, as we've found out so far this storm season. It's funny, a lot of storm seasons have those little characteristics, and it looks like the 2025-26 one is going to be characterised by storms that dodge Brisbane completely. None of these storms have hail in them. None of these cells are hailers. And if they are dropping hailstones, we're talking very small hailstones. 1-2 centimetres in diameter, nothing bigger. Caboolture expecting anything? Oh, they could be up around the 3 centimetre mark in the Toowoomba area, but again, not too crazy. Nothing unheard of, that's for sure. Put it that way. Anyways, back to our original question. Anything in the Caboolture area? Yeah, in about 45 minutes or so, these thunderstorms, which are looking to make a bit more of a northerly track. So Redcliffe in about 45 minutes, Caboolture in about an hour or an hour and a half. Samford Valley, depends on what you class as bad, but right now we're looking at these thunderstorms crossing into the Samford Valley, just with a bunch of heavy rainfall and maybe some strong wind gusts. No hail in Toowoomba, just heavy rainfall. Alright, so the fact that there's no hail in this Toowoomba cell, even though it does look like it's throwing out some pretty Yeah, 62 decibels. Wow. I'm actually surprised that there's no hail in that. It's very, very heavy rainfall, put it that way. That just confirms that none of these cells have hail in them. Second that, Michelle. Leave a like on the stream and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, I wouldn't be feeding your cat chow mein. I'd be feeding that straight to yourself. Chow mein's beautiful stuff. Flamin' Galar, thank you very much for the kind tip and the generous, generous words as well. How long till it passes Ipswich? Well, things are already beginning to ease off a little bit in Ipswich now. This is Ipswich here. It's a little bit hard to make out on this map. I need to sort these colours out. But you can see the back end of this storm is about 10 minutes away from crossing over Ipswich. So you've got another 5 to 10 minutes of heavy rainfall and then about 15 minutes of just patchy stuff behind it. So yeah, probably about half an hour until you can be in the all clear for Ipswich. And there's nothing developing behind it by the looks of things. Pretty robust line of storms, though, that's for sure. Yeah, these storms are not the ones that are going to be knocking out electronics or anything. So, as they move through to the Redcliffe area, strong winds, heavy rainfall, that sort of stuff. Nothing crazy. No hail for Ipswich. I'm yet to see a report of hailstones, a legitimate report of hailstones in the live chat as well. Not going for WA, we want Brisbane. 26 millimetres already at Amberley Airport. They're likely to end up with about 50 millimetres, actually. So a lot of these storms have a flash flooding risk as well. Yeah, a lot of these storms have a substantial risk of having flash flooding. So big puddles, that kind of stuff. Oh, tomorrow's forecast is for more severe thunderstorms, but they'll be outside of Brisbane. This is probably going to be the strongest thunderstorms into the Brisbane area this outbreak on a widespread capacity. There'll definitely be 1 or 2 stronger thunderstorms through southeast Queensland tomorrow and maybe even Sunday morning, but I don't think they're going to be stronger than the thunderstorms that we're seeing right now, per se. I'm just going to see if I can find any reports of what we're seeing right now through southeast Queensland. This is the best thing about Facebook, is it's just great. But yeah, a lot of people saying a really good drenching. Really good drenching, a lot of rainfall coming down. And for some, this is probably going to be our best rainfall in months and probably some of the wettest storm activity that we've seen so far this storm season. There's a lot of rainfall in these storms. I mean, Amberley Airport's already had 26 millimetres and that's about 10 minutes old. So these storms are probably dropping ballpark 20 to 50 millimetres. Very, very good indeed. And yeah, these thunderstorms, as forecast, looking like they're going to bypass, or the worst bit is going to bypass the Brisbane area. I still expect 20 millimetres in Brisbane. These are not fast-moving thunderstorms either. So one thing that we look at for storm motion, direction, and speed is our 700 to 500 millibar winds, which right now are sitting at about 35 knots. So not as quick as what they normally are. They're normally on a typical thunderstorm day, we're talking about 50 knots or so. But yeah, these thunderstorms are not getting along that quick, and that's why we're seeing so much rainfall developing in these storms. Yeah, it's actually surprising that it's still going in the Gold Coast. Just a few more moderate showers, though, for the Gold Coast and the Nerang area in the next half an hour or so. But it's now moving up in towards the Coomera area and the Sanctuary Cove area. Personally, my favourite parts of Queensland. And we're expecting this to clear the Coomera and the Sanctuary Cove area in about half an hour to 45 minutes or so. But the worst is still to come in terms of rainfall. And because they are having a lot of rainfall and a lot of really slow-moving storm activity in the Coomera and the Sanctuary Cove area, I actually expect there to be 50 millimetres plus in the Gold Coast hinterland and parts of the Coomera area from just these thunderstorms. Not only are these wetter than I expected, but they're also a lot stronger than I expected earlier today, for the most part. Very, very interesting. It's been a while since we've seen an outbreak of thunderstorms like this through southeast Queensland, and to be honest, it's just great to see because no hail, no destructive winds. We're just talking about heavy rainfall. Yeah, Yeah. All right. So we're now beginning to see a little bit of a wall cloud develop. You might be able to see it here. Just kind of trying to outline it right now. It's a very high cloud-based thunderstorm, actually. Yeah, it's really, really quite high. And you're going to see a lot of lightning as I look at this as well. But yeah, we've got a bit of a green tinge in this storm here, so heavy rainfall developing in this side of the storm. And also still heavy rainfall developing all through this part of the storm as well. Just see if we can see any lightning in it. But it also looks like the lightning intensity has dropped off a little bit. This cumulus storm is still pushing a lot of lightning activity out of it. And in fact, now that I'm seeing a little bit of a hook here, this storm could be trying to microburst. It's not an embedded supercell, but we might see a microburst around the Pimpama area as well. Alex, welcome. Thank you very, very much for the kind words and also the generous support as well. Wyme is blacked out. Wow. Rainfall is going to pick up in this area very soon. And Fred Hackworth, thank you for that generous tip as well. And also, your very kind words. Mount Gravett Mini Golf. Support those that support us. Is there anything for Highfields? Whereabouts is Highfields? Yeah, the radar is really looking quite nasty, that's for sure. Oh, honestly, this looks worse than what it is. There's very high precipitation rates, but normally when we're looking at the blacks, which you can see on the radar here just outside of Brisbane, we're talking about a large hail risk, and that's not the case today. Sydney will see a storm tomorrow, most likely, that's for sure. Yeah, these storms are significant. Logan Village, definitely in the firing line. I mean, Logan's right here, and you can see these thunderstorms are now pushing into the Logan area, and they're going to do so very soon. I'm in a house. Just seeing if I can find whereabouts Highfields are. I believe Highfields actually are... I need to get windy up. Just outside of Brisbane. I could be very, very wrong here. I believe it's a suburb. I think I've seen it before. Toowoomba, I'll just get to Toowoomba in a second. It's now, or it's still pushing into the Toowoomba area. It's just heavy rainfall and some strong wind gusts. We can actually look at the Toowoomba radar right now. Wow, 9mm. That came down in the last, 10 minutes or so. And a massive temperature drop as well, 26 to 17. Wind gusts topping out at 65 kilometres an hour. 8mm of rainfall in 8 minutes. They're going at 1mm a minute. That's really heavy stuff. Oh, Highfields is in Toowoomba. Ah, yes. It was on my map all along. But yes, we're definitely looking at some significant rainfall developing in this area. Highfields looks like it may be on the edge of this storm, though. I mean, even if we extrapolate its movement, I know it's still a developing cell, so it could be bigger by the time it gets up towards the Highfields area. But it looks like Highfields is just going to be on the edge of this storm here. And the worst of the Ipswich one is now pushing over into the Diagla National Park and through the Wivenhoe Outlook. A lot of lightning there, and it's all passing towards the west and the northwest of Brisbane, or at least the strongest stuff of it. It also looks like the situation is going to calm down in Ipswich in the next 5 minutes or so. Yep, North Brisbane, just a bit of thunder in the background. Roadside drainage systems will be very full from this. Yeah, again, it's just imperative that you stay off the roads during thunderstorms like this. These, for driving, are more dangerous than our very destructive wind gusts because the rainfall, I mean, it just reduces your visibility to nothing, and it also floods the road. So flash flooding, very much a possibility from these storms. Watch river levels as well. We will likely see some sharp rises in a few creeks and rivers. Whoa, some big rainfall accumulation so far. Binnabar at 50mm. River conditions obviously take a little bit to kind of show up, but I definitely reckon we're seeing some pretty significant rises. And just outside of Toowoomba and Ipswich, big rainfall accumulations in the last hour. The biggest I've seen so far is 30mm at Moon Road and Shorts Lookout. Oh, Binnabar 48mm, of course. Big accumulations down there. And this Pimpama Yeah, Pimpama 1 outside of Coomera. Big cell here. This has got some heavy rainfall in it. Big drops of rainfall coming down there. Lots of lightning. And a good line now developing along this Jimboomba area as well. That's going to cross into the Logan area very soon. Esk will get it if it hasn't already. Toowoomba cell 60 decibels. Yeah, it's just heavy rainfall. There's no big hail or anything crazy like that within it. Just reloading this now. That's a nice shelf cloud now developing, and a lot of lightning in this one as well. And it is very pronounced now. I'm pretty sure everybody will be able to see it on the stream. Lots of green in this cell. Yeah, lots and lots of green. Looking very, very healthy. That's got some very heavy rainfall in it, passing over the Diagla National Park, and that's going to go into the Samford Valley. So, no warning for hail or anything. I don't think hail is a concern from this thunderstorm still. No update from BOM. But very heavy rainfall, which could lead to some flash flooding. Expecting the Bayside area, Alex, you're probably looking... Depending on if you cop these kind of big cells, like these big clusters of rainfall, which Toowoomba's copping right now, Pimpama's copping, even Logan might cop a good hiding, you could be seeing up to 50 millimeters of rainfall. So kind of anywhere within these parallel lines, you could be looking at about 50 millimeters of rainfall or so. But if you're outside of them, you're probably looking closer to about 15 to 30 millimeters of rainfall, depending on how slow moving these thunderstorms are. Now, there shouldn't be any hail in the Toowoomba area. And thank you, Alex, for that generous donation. Lightning starting in North Brisbane. Yeah, we're now beginning to see this lightning really develop towards the north of Brisbane, up into the Samford Valley. And this is going to move into Strathpine in about 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so. 8 Mile Plains, whereabouts is that? It's a strange place to ask if people have a VL Turbo. In a weather stream, that's definitely the most original question I've got today. Can't say I do, though. Um, 150 millimeters of rain would, in 30 minutes, would cause untold flooding in Brisbane. Like, you would have the entire city underwater. That would be 10 times as bad as the Brisbane floods of 2011. 150 mil in 30 minutes. That would wipe out the city for all intents and purposes. But I do agree, people are a lot more kind of complacent and blasé to some of these thunderstorms, and some of the stronger thunderstorms that we see now are kind of the stock standard stuff that we saw 30 years ago. 0.8 centimetre hailstones just outside of Toowoomba. Wow, okay, so out around the Westbrook area. Again, I don't believe hail to be a concern in any of these thunderstorms. Like I said, small hail's likely possible in a few of these thunderstorms, but it's not a concern. 3 massive claps of Ipswich. Yeah, it's easing off. These thunderstorms are now pulling out of the Ipswich area, but I imagine the 3 claps now was 30 claps earlier. Depends on the thunderstorm. Some storms can go for hours upon hours. Other thunderstorms just collapse in themselves after half an hour. Yeah, small hailstones occurring now in Toowoomba. That's a pretty consistent report. About what I would expect out around the Westbrook area from 60 decibels, small hailstones. It would be a good idea in the Highfields area to now put the car under cover in case it spits out some more large hail, or in case it spits out large hail. But I don't really think that that's going to be a concern from these thunderstorms. Let's actually see if we can get an idea on how strong or how high these cloud tops are. Doesn't look like any of this imagery is willing to load in right now. So that's not going to help. But yeah, lots and lots of lightning. Lots of lightning. Harvey Bay, probably not from this outbreak. I don't think Harvey Bay is going to see anything from this thunderstorm outbreak. There we go. Finally, a bit of satellite imagery coming through. Yeah, wow, minus 64. Far out. That Ipswich has got some big overshooting tops, and same with the Pimpama Coomera one. That's got very intense precipitation in it. That Coomera Pimpama one. Definitely some major flash flooding problems down here, I reckon now. And people driving between the Gold Coast up towards Brisbane, and around the Sanctuary Cove area and through the theme parks, definitely plan for significant delays as a result of flash flooding. And even when we're talking about situations like this, car accidents and crashes do become a bit of a concern. So just watch out, take it really easy on the roads. So this is a look at the live camera. Oh yeah, have a look at the rainfall coming in. You can see that this mountain here is now a little bit less visible. A lot of lightning, good shelf cloud up the top. In fact, looks like a bit of a shelf cloud developing down there as well. And this is our Jimboomba Logan one. I'll just delete those two lines so that you can see it. In fact, that's a very robust shelf cloud. But the majority of this is going to bypass the Brisbane city, or the worst, this is actually bypassing the Brisbane city, and it's going to head just to the north and eventually in towards Strathpine and the airport area. We'll still see heavy rainfall though in the Brisbane area, don't get me wrong. 20, 30 millimetres is possible, but the worst of it, the stuff that went through Ipswich and Amberley, that will bypass Brisbane. And of course our Pimpama cell down here, that's going to move over in towards North Stradbroke Island eventually. Anthony Jenkin, thank you for becoming a channel sponsor. Full on in Logan Central, it sure would be. That's a place that we haven't actually talked about much this stream, and I apologise for that. Definitely would be getting a little bit full on down there, that's for sure. Heavy rainfall. Logan is copying it, that's for sure. If you are brand new to the channel, of course, please consider subscribing. And leave a like on the stream as well while you're at it. All of the support is massively appreciated. Yeah, that is a solid storm into the Strathpine area. Very loud in Beenleigh. Sure would be. Full on. Lots of reports of full on, and I love to see it because it means this heavy rainfall is coming into the places that is much needed. It's definitely on the upper side of what we would want, rainfall wise, particularly some of these cells here. Like I said, the one around the Coomera and the Pimpama area, very strong on the precipitation side of things, and then this one here outside of Mount Nebo, crossing into the Samford Valley and then eventually on into Strathpine, causing some flash flooding, and of course our Toowoomba cell as well is very strong too. But a lot of these other areas, this rainfall that's being pushed through by this storm line, very good to see. Love to see it. It is much needed for these places. So very, very happy to see it. Yeah, lots of shelf clouds. North Brisbane, depending on what you're classifying as North Brisbane, but if you're talking Strathpine and suburbs around Strathpine, up to 50 millimetres. White wall on the Brisbane weather live camera. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's have a look at this come into the Brisbane city area live. This is strong. That is very strong what's coming through. And you can actually also see the shelf cloud down here if you look very closely. Actually, that's a very, very bad drawing because that kind of blocks off everything. But look, somewhere in that circle there, just below me, you can see that contrast between dark and light. And then we've got our shelf here up in the top part of the screen as well. No tornado. Because when 50 millimetres falls in 20 minutes, it causes significant flash flooding 9 out of 10 times. 50 millimetres is not a lot of rainfall for Queensland, but it is a lot of rainfall when it falls in 15 or 20 minutes. But yeah, look at that come in. Look at that absolutely just rip in and roar in. That is very, very impressive indeed. 20 millimetres in Currumbin Valley in 15 minutes. Good to see. Wicked shelf cloud, yeah. Looking very green as well. Pouring in Indooroopilly. I butchered that pronunciation, I apologise, Lee. If you cop the strongest part of that cell, you'd be looking at 50 millimetres in 20 minutes for sure. Definitely. Big drop in temperature for sure. 30 millimetres in South Toowoomba past 15 minutes. Wow. That's pretty quick. Indooroopilly. Thank you very much for that, MW. Yeah, I'm not known for my pronunciations, don't worry. But yeah, look at this come through. Look at all of the lightning. Look at all of that. We can't really see the shelf clouds as clear anymore because the precipitation is really beginning to pick up. So let's switch it back and have a look at if we've got a severe thunderstorm warning update. We sure do. Brisbane CBD on the outer flanks of that. No details on what we're looking at here. Toowoomba now in the all clear, I believe. No, they're not. Isn't that funny? The severe thunderstorm warning has that thunderstorm towards the west of Toowoomba, whereas it's actually right over the top of Toowoomba. That's a little bit wrong. Toowoomba, you are not in the all clear, and that's why it's important to track these storms live. Yeah, so now just moving towards the north of Lowood here, all mixing up together by the looks of things. And even the Pimpama cell and the Coomera cell look to be weakening off a little bit right now as well. Yeah, there's a lot of thunder in this line here. This is a big line, and there is a lot of thunder. Of course, our Toowoomba cell is not throwing out that much, but our big line of storms here that extends from Lowood, or in fact probably over from Gatton actually, right over towards the Gold Coast and the Coomera area. Lots of lightning, lots of heavy rainfall embedded within it. And there's about 3 separate areas of strong precipitation, including the Logan City one, which is going to move in towards the Redland City and then across towards the Maleny area in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so with some heavy rainfall. Of course, our Russell Island storm will moving up towards Russell Island from Coomera, and then our big Diagla National Park cell moving towards the north of Brisbane, and a good cell here now moving through the Wivenhoe outlook that's going to eventually make it out towards Caboolture and then eventually Bribie Island and Beerwah potentially. By the time these storms cross over the Samford Valley, so out towards this second black line here, they'll all be upscaled and really joined up together, and there's not going to be one area that's stronger than the rest. They're all going to be moderately strong severe thunder, or potentially severe thunderstorms. They're definitely going to be on the lower side of severe thunderstorms. That's a good message, actually. Charge up your phones and get ready for severe thunderstorm blackouts. Rain has started up in Toowoomba, yep. Temperature dropped in Strathpine. We're seeing some massive temperature drops as well. We're under the wall cloud now at the Brisbane Weather Live webcam as this thunderstorm rolls in. What a beauty. What an absolute beauty this is. And we can now see that the Brisbane City area is shrouded in rain. And it is somewhat heavy as well. Of course, our heaviest rainfall is towards the north. In fact, it's kind of towards the west. So our Brisbane weather webcam is located about here where the X is. And we're looking at this here, which is moving off in this direction here. And then we've got our big cell up here, which is moving off in this direction up towards Strathpine. So Brisbane actually looks like it may thread the needle. I said it at the start of the stream, but it appears that all storm seasons have different characteristics, and it looks like the 2025-26 one is going to be characterised by storms that bypass Brisbane. You hate to see it, don't you? Oh, a scale of 1 to 10. That's very difficult to say, because on a severe thunderstorm scale, this is like a 4 out of 10. On a regular thunderstorm scale, this is pushing a 6. In other words, garden variety. Middle of the pack. Damaging thunder. Interesting. Definitely heavy on the rainfall side of things, though, that Coomera cell, and that's also pouring up into the Logan area right now. Big rainfall developing there. Mount Nebo, big rainfall. Let's just have a look at some of those observations. So Amberley's got 28 in the gauge, 27 here at the Gold Coast Seaway. What are we looking at in terms of Brisbane? No notable temperature drop just yet, but that data's 20 minutes old. 10 millimeters at Archerfield. They kind of missed the worst of it, though. 9 millimeters at Greenbank as well. Kind of missed the worst of it. And Beaudesert as well really missed the worst of it. They threaded the needle. And yeah, I mean, there's some strong wind gusts, but those winds appear to be weakening off a little bit as well right now. Yeah. This is very stock standard stuff. Yeah, this is really stock standard thunderstorm stuff. HB, thank you very much for that generous donation and those very kind words as well. 30 minutes straight in Southport and the Gold Coast. Beautiful, beautiful spot. You're lucky to be there. But yeah, how much rain are we talking down there? Definitely seen some pretty good rainfall accumulations and rainfall observations so far from this severe thunderstorm outbreak. Easing down now in Pim. Light rain and thunder at the airport. And yeah, it's now raining here on the webcam. But yeah, after this live stream, make sure you go and check out Brisbane Live on YouTube. Search up Brisbane Weather Live, gives you the webcam, and give them a sub as well. They're getting close to 10,000, so give them a bit of support. And if you haven't already as well, please consider subscribing to my channel too. Yeah, this is the start. This is typical summer storm stuff. In fact, these severe thunderstorms kind of resemble the stuff that we see in January, February, and March. Just upscaled pulse thunderstorm stuff, nothing crazy. Toowoomba's likely to see thunderstorms for the next, or on and off for the next half an hour to an hour actually. There's a lot of storms now developing around the Millmerran and the Cecil Plains area. So Toowoomba, expect more rainfall. You might actually end up with 50 plus millimetres in the gauge. These storms are not going anywhere, and it's going to be at least another 15 minutes until they pull away from Toowoomba, but possibly closer to 45 minutes. Yeah, it is good to do live coverage in severe thunderstorms and just regular thunderstorms as well, because it's the only way to give accurate information. Thunderstorm forecasts are great, but they are difficult to forecast, they're impossible to forecast, and they're impossible for a reason. They're just unpredictable and very localized. Oh, it will happen again, but it's not going to happen this weekend. The Christmas storm, at least. 40 mil in the gauge at Collingwood Park, beauty. Redland Bay, the rain has just started. Any more on the way for Brisbane? Well, I mean, you've got this cell here that's pushing into the Brisbane area right now, but after that, it's going to be pretty minimal behind it. Maybe a few cells later in the evening. But yeah, as this storm moves into the Brisbane area, not a massive concern at this point in time. More storms later tonight in the Ipswich area. There are a couple of cells developing behind this one here that's in the Brisbane area that are going towards Ipswich, but they're not thunderstormy. They're also pretty weak as well in nature. So not too crazy. Pimpama storms died out. Yep, that's now moving north of Pimpama. And then that's going to go over some of the mudflats area here up towards the Logan River. Not a big concern, that one. A lot of thunder now around the Strathpine area moving towards the north of Brisbane. Very heavy rainfall. Yeah, it really is pouring down. Visibility would be below 300 metres. Nah, these storms are not producing hail. And if they do drop hailstones, we're talking about a centimetre. They're really not that big at all. 38 mil of rainfall in the West Toowoomba area, and it's getting heavier. Yeah, more rainfall is still coming in the Toowoomba area as well, out around Westbrook. There's more cells. There's a whole train of them actually developing towards the west of Toowoomba, whilst they will likely pass north, and it will give the Highfields area a bit of storm activity out towards Oakey as well, and then eventually Crow's Nest. There is some good thunderstorm activity there. I would say, though, for Strathpine, this is some pretty intense reflectivity readings coming through. Anywhere kind of in the, or south of Strathpine towards the northern suburbs of Brisbane here, so Stafford Heights, Kermside, and then just north of the airport. Maybe put the car away, kind of anywhere between these parallel lines here, up towards Bramble Bay. I'd say put the car away. This is a big reflectivity reading here, 65 decibels. That could very much have hail in it, and it could also have large hailstones. And it's better to be safe than sorry. Troy Connolly, thank you very much for that generous donation as well. Very heavy rain and wind, poor visibility, lots of lightning. You're more than welcome. Thank you very much for the kind words and also the donation. Much appreciated. Good storm activity, that is for sure. Definitely didn't expect storms to be this strong or this widespread today. Still looking pretty healthy as well down in this area. But this is very much our garden variety type thunderstorms. This is nothing to be overly concerned about. Wow, good rainfall accumulations. Have a look at this. So this is in the last hour, just outside of Ipswich area. Ipswich itself has had 35 millimetres. 25 here at Three Ways. Laidley falls between 20 to 35 millimetres. And then Athol here just outside of Toowoomba has had 34 millimetres. Very good to see. No update yet from BOM. And just in terms of the more broader severe thunderstorm outlook, nothing interesting going on here. But the severe thunderstorm warning stands at the Granite Belt, Darling Downs, Warrego, Central Highlands and Coalfields, albeit just a very small section of that, parts of the Wide Bay and Burnett region, and of course through the southeast coast, Granite Belt and Darling Downs. Alex, thank you very much. Getting thrashed with rain in Logan. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, so for Brisbane, well, the Brisbane city area is now definitely on the receiving end of some very heavy rainfall. I mean, have a look at this now. It's really pouring on the webcam. Visibility down to about 200 metres or so. But they're not getting smashed per se. The really heavy stuff is just towards the north and also well towards the south as well. Lots of lightning in these thunderstorms too, but it is also beginning to dry out a little bit in the lightning. You can see that the lightning is a little bit less intense through some of these storms. That definitely suggests to me that they're now on their way out. They're really upscaling and they're now on their way out. Thank you, Martin, for the very nice words and the very generous donation as well. Bo, good to see you, and thank you for your generous donation too. Redland Bay, winds 5.2 metres per second, 6.2 millimetres of rain, so that's only about 15 kilometres an hour, 20 kilometres an hour. How much wind? Wind gusts are between 50 to 70 kilometres an hour. And that's what I said about 20 minutes ago. I don't know why these storms are warned for large hailstones and damaging winds. The winds are strong, but I wouldn't really call them damaging. We're talking about winds that could take a branch or two off a tree. But definitely not something that's going to like push a roof off a house or something like that. And then the rainfall is kind of the only massively severe aspect of this, or the big severe aspect of this. Yeah, flash flooding is a bit of a concern from this thunderstorm outbreak through southeast Queensland. There's just a lot of rainfall. Of course, Queensland is very much built for this type of rainfall, but we're talking about a lot coming down very, very quickly. Yeah, no New South Wales storms. They're all in Queensland now. Flash flooding on the northern Gold Coast over the weekend. I mean, thunderstorms this weekend are going to be high precipitation, so definitely it's a possibility, but it's not expected to be a widespread concern. Today, if you haven't seen flash flooding already, you're unlikely to see it. Flash flooding concern was mainly for today. Mel, thank you very much for popping in. Pouring on the Bay Islands in the Redlands area. Lovely. Going to continue to really rain down and hammer down there. Good to get another update on the radar, actually. See what we're looking at. Yeah, those rates are dying down. Still quite strong, but they're dying down. So Brisbane's up at 4 millimetres now. The bulk of that's fallen in the last 10 minutes. Nothing crazy there, as expected. And now moving up in towards Strathpine. Same towards Bramble Bay, and then eventually on towards Redcliffe as well. Heavy rainfall moving into the Redcliffe area and through the northern suburbs of Brisbane. I would say for the Bramble Bay coastline, maybe about 5 to 8 minutes, and then for Redcliffe about 15 minutes or so when this thunderstorm's going to arrive. Very small hail, yeah. So lots of very heavy rainfall. Yeah, beautiful. Love to hear a good light show. And you will be hearing it as well. There's a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. Black is extremely intense precipitation, so we're talking closer towards hailstones with the black precipitation, but it's not very widespread. If you're familiar with the coverage, you'll know that this is the weakest thunderstorms that we've tracked live here. Lots of small hail. Yeah, right, okay. This is definitely the most haily that these storms have been. Ipswich are on the back end of these thunderstorms now. It's going to stop raining in the next 10 minutes or so. But now that these storms have moved over the Brisbane area, I'm inclined to pause the live coverage. Because these storms, they are not severe. Oh, they're strong, but to call these severe is basically calling every southeast Queensland thunderstorm that ever develops a severe thunderstorm. They're strong, put it that way, but these are not storms that are going to be causing massive problems, apart from on the big puddle side of things. So take it easy on the roads this evening, of course, these coinciding with rush hour as they normally do. But apart from that, these thunderstorms are not a massive risk or danger. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Oh yeah, I'll be live streaming tomorrow for sure. Stopped in Ipswich, good. Bikes with Blake, thank you very much. I'd love to take a look at those. Rain easing off in southwest Toowoomba, 44 millimeters. Beautiful stuff, Alex. ECST Storm Motion, or EC Storm Motion. I believe that's how I say the name. Smell of rain, beautiful stuff. Lovely. It's one of my favourite smells. That and bacon. Morayfield and Caboolture, lots of lightning. Yeah, Caboolture likely to see thunderstorm activity, especially with this kind of training stuff that's moving along those lines. Caboolture will likely see storms in the next 30 minutes or so, and then be around about 45 minutes. Caloundra and Maroochydore, the remnants of these thunderstorms, in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Full on in Macleay Island. Yeah, I'd expect that. These storms are quite full on the rainfall side of things at least. Very, very full on the rainfall side of things. But apart from that, and maybe the lightning, but apart from that, these are not crazy strong or severe. Yeah, supercells tomorrow in the Granite Belt and Darling Downs. I've got a forecast update coming out right after this stream ends. So in about 15 minutes, check back in on the channel. I'll have that forecast update out and I'll tell you exactly what you're expecting tomorrow. 50 mil of rain at Everton Park. Wow, that's great. A lot of rain and wind at Hamilton. Good to see. Pretty hectic in Stafford Heights, north of Brisbane. It's chilling out now. Good. Yeah, it looks like everything's about to chill out. Let's see if we can pull another observation or two in the Brisbane area. No, not yet. Hasn't updated. They update very quickly and frequently if it's severe. Brisbane Airport, wind gusts 50 kilometres an hour. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. It should actually be beginning to ease off now in the Strathpine area. Redcliffe, it will be pretty full on for the next 10-15 minutes or so. But after that, it's going to ease off. Huge thunder, good to hear. Stay safe, of course. And yeah, it looks like this webcam now beginning to chill out a little bit more. Looks like visibility is beginning to improve a little bit. Redcliffe, small hail, possible. Extremely heavy rainfall, yep. Yeah, full on in Redcliffe, good. Well, I think that's going to do it for this live coverage. These thunderstorms are garden variety. They're stock standard. They're not anything to be worried about, but they are good. They are strong. So as with all thunderstorms, stay inside, stay out of the way, and stay off the roads. There's a lot of heavy rainfall here. Keep me posted as well, and I'll release that video update in just a second. I'll give you a bit of an idea on what to expect later tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday on the rainfall side of things. but definitely easing off. These thunderstorms are now beginning to properly ease off. Very grateful for all of the support, so thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon for this short hour and 10 minutes of coverage. Very much appreciative of all of the kind words and also all of the donations, and to our proud sponsor, #1 Computer Shop in Ipswich. If you've got any computer problems, go and check them out. They are open weekdays. Very helpful, good people. And make sure that you do go and support those that support me. Thank you very much, and that is going to do it for today's hour of live coverage. I'll be back with a video update shortly, as you know. Subscribe, leave a like, and I'll be back tomorrow with twice daily forecast updates and live coverage when the thunderstorms really do hit the fan. Thank you very much. I'll catch you on the next storm.